Hello, Flosstube. That's Diet Coke. You know, they can't all be pina coladas. So, good morning, good afternoon, good night. I am Heidi, and I'm back with Flosstube number 2 on Stitching Down the Rabbit Hole. I've just been watching Jen, the caffeinated crafter. Holy moly, she makes my eyes big and my brain catch fire. She likes a lot of projects, and some of them are big projects, like full coverage. Don't tempt me. Did you know there's a cell? Don't tempt me. She really loves big and lots of projects, and she tracks her numbers and she plays games. So if that sounds fun to you, it sure woke me up this morning. Well, it's not really even morning, hardly at all anymore. Check her out. It's linked below. If you're new here, pretty much all of us are new here. You may recall from my first video that if I put something on the screen, I will make this sound. I won't make it, my computer will make it. But that way you can look up to see what it is I'm putting on the screen, whether you're changing your oil or you're cross-stitching. You can look up for a second and see what it is. If you're driving, don't look at the screen, just check your seatbelt. That's what that is for. So, wow. So just to make sure you don't disappear immediately, because, get down to business. Stop chit-chatting. I'm doing it right now. Anyway, I found this book on eBay, and I think I paid less than $6, including shipping. How do they do that? So here it is. It's called The Secret Garden in Cross Stitch by Thea Gouvenier. I looked it up. Gouvenier. It means governor. Look it up yourself. 21 exquisite floral designs in cross stitch, and one of them are those poppies. I'm just going to show you a couple things that I thought were cute, and the categories of flowers in here are bulb flowers, spring flowers, the romance of the rose. I actually only like roses. They have to be just right. Herbal gardens, love herbs. Wildflowers, I love wildflowers. Ditch flowers, we used to call them. And an orchard with September plums, bilberries, and apples. I don't know what a bilberry is, but it's very pretty. And then she's got sections in the back on materials and techniques and suppliers. Here's one tip for newbies. I promised that I would have a newbie tip every video. I didn't promise all of you, but I promised one particular viewer. And when you get a kit or a chart or a book, read the instructions. You might think, oh, I already know all that. You might find something you didn't know. So I always say, read the instructions. I, by default, have become the problem solver, tech guru, all the things in my house. And the first thing I always ask when someone gets in a jam is, did you read the instructions? Oh, I don't need the instructions. But newbies, you might need the instructions. You might learn something. I learn something every time. It's like, that's not how I'm going to do it. Even that's what you learn. Read the instructions. So she's got instructions. Let me just show you a couple. No, not the roses. Not that basket. See, I'm teasing you. No, I'm sorry. Oh, here's a little lineup of spring flowers. All the little, the little bulby flowers like crocuses and snowdrops and hyacinth. Is there any hyacinth in there? They smell so good. So isn't that pretty? You could do one or a couple or arrange them yourself, but they're all charted out. And holy moly, this designer uses a lot of colors. I just did a quick scan of some of them, and they use between 30 and 80 colors for those pretty little flowers. Here's my favorite and also the most horrifying from a color point of view. It is honeysuckle. For quite a few years when I was in school, my shortest route to school was down an alley in my neighborhood, and one of our neighbors on their backyard had honeysuckle just growing wild, like along a backyard fence that had hung over into the alley. Oh, walking down that alley when the hyacinth was in bloom, honeysuckle was in bloom, smelled so good. So look at that beautiful honeysuckle pillow. And that chart has dang near 100 colors in it. Isn't it stunning? So anyway, look on, as they call it, the secondary market. I just say look on eBay for cross-stitch books. And make sure when you're filtering, click on the book section so you don't get charts or pamphlets. Well, you could do that too, but books have a lot of value. $5 and 21 exquisite patterns. So that's my tip. I know a lot about buying and selling on eBay because I have a little side business doing that. But if you ever have questions about how to be a good eBay shopper, leave them in the comments and I'd be happy to help you out. Okay. I tried to try to learn and grow, make a few improvements. And because my husband is an adjunct professor of music technology and guitar, currently in retirement, and he's a rock and roll musician and retired music teacher, we now have this. It's a microphone. Does it sound better? I hope it makes things better for you. And also, I made a huge rookie mistake in my last video. I totally forgot about two things I wanted to talk about, which are my plans for the 2025 semi-quincentennial of the Declaration of Independence. Yes, that's an actual word, semi-quincentennial. And to share some of my favorite floss tubers. I'll be sure and do that this time. So you'll be thinking about, are you going to stitch something for July 4th, 2026? Because I need more ideas. I'm kind of fixated on one project. And Oh, and then in the comments, I had a question about the LA Broda red sampler that I found in a magazine. And I actually started it last night. We'll look at that later. I did reply to that viewer, but I wanted to tell you it was in the Gift of Stitching magazine, issues 49 through 54, which is February through July of 2010. On their website, you can buy all the issues for $29.95. It says they're closing down their website soon. But I link to it now, so if you want to don't make me do the math of how many years that is. A lot of years of the Gift of Stitching magazine. And I also discovered a bunch of new channels through the comments section. Those of you that looked like you had a channel and it wasn't just, Mitzi 6932. That doesn't sound like a channel to me. But if it sounded like you had a channel, I checked you out and I subscribed. And I will have a tip for some of you also very new floss tubers at the very end to make sure your videos are more visible. I sent a message to someone hoping I could use her as an example, but she didn't reply, so I'll just be like anonymous. Anyway, if you have a YouTube channel and you're worried that your videos aren't visible, stay tuned. As always, links to any products or persons I mentioned will be in the More box below the video window. I know if you're on TV, that doesn't help you at all. You just have to live in ignorance. The next thing I want to say is, wow, thank you. My first comment on my first floss tube was from Sarah of Sarah Stitchy Spot. She, probably because I DM'd her on Instagram and said I made a video and she watched it and made a comment. God bless you, Sarah. She is such a community builder. In addition to being entertaining and kind and just really a special soul. She's a retired physician, and I know that career meant a lot to her. But anyway, I've been following her for quite a while, and she started having stitching Zooms. And if you entered, Zoom in the comments, she would just randomly pick 10 people to be on a Stitchy Zoom on a Sunday afternoon. Lord, my brain. And I eventually got picked. So I got to see her video face to face. And I'd also been in a room with her during the Midsummer Stitch. So I've had a few opportunities to have direct conversations with her, but I always chat with her in the comments. Anyway, my first Flosstube, she was my first commenter. And then she gave me a shout out. So it's just so exciting. But I'm astonished at the response and grateful and excited and a little freaked out. And so many new subscribers and so many views of my video. And I just, wow. And I think I touched a nerve with the no apologies thing. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry. I'm not mocking other YouTubers. I'm setting you free. Okay? Enough said. I posted and pinned about it. So anyway, but when I was reminded, as I was watching the number of views climb and reading and responding to the comments, I couldn't possibly respond to everyone. I've got stitching to do, but I tried to heart everyone and respond to many of them. But I was reminded, do you remember the actor Ruth Gordon? Oh, what a talent. When she was 72 and she'd been in the business for 50 years, she won an Oscar for the movie Rosemary's Baby. And the first thing she said was, I can't tell you how encouraging a thing like this is. And of course, it got a big laugh because she was an experienced, mature actress and made it sound like it was her first outing. But that's how I feel. Very encouraged. So many subscribers, so many kind comments. It means so much to me. It was just fun to make and fun to see a response. And some of you even watched the whole video. YouTube tells us such things. So kind of you. There's a strong possibility I peaked too soon. I set the bar too high, leading you to unreasonable expectations about future performances in this medium. But if that's so, I'm not sorry. You'll notice if you hang around a while, I sometimes go on a tangent or down a rabbit hole or get bossy. I love to tell people what they should do with their lives. So, short story, I hope. When I was still working, I attended a conference, as I did several times a year, many years. I attended a conference at a huge hotel in some large city in America. And at 7:15, there was a long line at the coffee stand, and the staff was bustling around and taking care of people. But, some people were a little impatient and looking at their watches and tapping their foot. And just, sometimes people get a little brusque. But this coffee stand, every person was smiling, greeting people, and working their off, right? It was just so well run. I have been a student and a teacher of customer service for many years. And so I observed those things, and I might be hypersensitive, but this was a very well-run hotel lobby coffee shop. And while I waited, I was able to identify one particular woman that I thought was the manager. She was very observant of what was happening, right? Not oblivious, as we say. She was stepping in at just the right moment to help another employee, just smiling and encouraging. I could tell she was running the place. So when I got my order, received my coffee, I thanked the person and then said, could I have a quick word with your manager? And she went, and she glanced over at the woman that I had identified as the manager. And I said, it's okay. It's all good. Just a quick minute. And she agreed and went over and spoke in the manager's ear. I stepped off to the side where I was still accessible, but not in the way of other coffee drinkers. And she went over and spoke in her ear, and then she looked a little worried and looked over at me, and I smiled. And when she approached me, she said, what can I do for you? And I said, she didn't say, is there a problem? She just said, what can I do for you? And I told her that I said, you're doing a terrific job. Your staff is well chosen and well trained and well supported, and you're just running an excellent shop here, and I wanted you to know. And she just caught her breath, and her eyes got big, and she got a tear, and then she smiled, and she said, "Thank you." She couldn't speak. And I said, "You're welcome." And I walked away. And when I got some distance down the hallway where I was, out of their direct line of sight, I looked back, and that woman was still smiling, and she was talking and gesturing to 2 other employees and pointing over where we had our conversation. And I hope she was telling them, "You're doing a great job." So my lesson to you, and from all your wonderful comments that I received, is when somebody's doing something great, tell them. Because it could be the only time they heard it today, or this week, or this year. So look for those and acknowledge them. Back to Flosstube. I finished nothing. That's kind of how I roll, I think. I don't finish things. I felt like I was so productive. I felt like I did a lot. And when I look at my progress, there's none. But I'm 80% done with inventorying all my DMC, what I have and where it is, and mostly getting it on. I use cardboard bobbins like floss drops, and then I put it all on a belt. That's a belt hanger. And then I want a list so that when I need a color, I know if I have it and if it's already in a project, where it is. So that's what I'm working on. I started a new Vivsters piece from Vivian Powers. Is that her name? Vivsters, the Etsy store. I'll link it. Because I had bought Moroccan lanterns, which I haven't started yet, but I've got a reason for that. Started and stopped. Is that a restart? Stop it, Heidi. Jeez. Vivsters, Etsy store. She sent me a coupon, buy 2 and they're both half price. That is sinister. So I did that. I'll show you one of them. My biggest time suck this week, for some strange reason, I cut out all the pieces and the Pellon interfacing to make a dang project bag. As you know, I don't need project bags. I use these. They're so cheap. I got 1 million of them, and I could get 1 million more tomorrow. But I just keep seeing them, and they're pretty. And for as long as I can remember, whether it was my mom and my sisters or me and my daughters, when we see some beautiful handcrafted thing, we think or say, I could make that. And we're not often in the market to buy because frequently we think, well, if I really wanted one, I could make it. Which is, I don't mean it to disrespect people who make and sell beautiful things, because you should do that. But for some reason in my family, if we needed it, we made it. If we had one and it was broken, we fixed it. Partly out of economics and partly out of, if you can, you should. No, that's just so not true. But then Joanne had a fat quarter sale, 10 for $10. So I had to go buy 10 fat quarters while my husband was going, are you almost done? But I got, and then, interfacing was 50% off. And did you know you can buy a quarter ton of zippers on Amazon for just a few dollars? I'm in so much trouble. But I cut out the pieces. Maybe you'll see that next week. It's a trap. It's a trap. Whips. Should we do my whips? Good grief. Oh, 20 minutes and no whips yet? I will totally probably not fix it. Okay, Ragnarok. I'm getting mixed emotions about Ragnarok, my big long dog that I'm doing for my husband who says he's a Viking. Yeah, he is. Ish. I'm kind of afraid to finish it. We've been together since the 1st of July, and I've spent most of my time on this project. But it's also starting to feel like, have you ever gone snowshoeing when your old wooden shoes are not waxed properly and the snow is kind of soft and melty, but it's still really cold out. And as you're snowshoeing, the snow starts to stick to the bottom of your shoes and more. And once you get a buildup, it more builds up. And pretty soon you're snowshoeing around with like this much snow stuck to the bottom of your shoes. Has that ever happened to you? That's how this feels. The closer I get to the end, the harder every stitch becomes. Would you like to see where I am? So, Ragnarok, the great Viking myth, hope is the last thing ever lost. This is my long dog that I've been working on since July 1. I can't see what you're seeing. There, that's what I've left. It's about half of one page. It's a moose head. That's all that's left is the head of a moose. It's going to come in there and have a few antlers. Oh, wait a minute. Right next to the dog down there under the butterfly, there's a rabbit. I will have this done by tomorrow night, I'm sure. And then Kurt and I can work together on mounting it on a rough sawn pine board or two with some, I might have to go buy some upholstery tacks. But yeah, next video, this will be a fully finished object. And then I'll pick another thing to obsess over. One last look. So I did this on the, and I cut off there's another border outside of this one. I didn't do that because it didn't fit. This was a piece of, I'm going to call it Ecru, 14 count Ada, that I got in a bundle of miscellaneous needlecraft stuff at a thrift store. And I thought, what can I put on that giant piece of Ada? And then when I saw Ragnarok, I thought, I wonder if it'll fit. And then I thought, no, it doesn't fit, but it'll fit if I cut off the border. So there's supposed to be another border on this. It's not fancy or anything. It's just another line. But I just wanted you to know I did that. I also have a couple white stitches. I'm going to call them top stitches because they're not back stitches. There's a couple places where you have to put in white stars on two different animals and an owl. So I'll do that too. Okay. Goodbye, Ragnarok. Next time we see you, you will look very different, I hope. I don't plan to wash it, but I'm going to wet block it. And that'll get it all unwrinkled and smoothed out. Next, I'm going to show you my secret stitch, which is not a secret anymore because I begged my husband to let me show it to him. I begged him every other day for a couple of weeks and finally he said, okay, show me. So I'm going to show you. Isn't this cool? This is Echo Fiber on a Whim. 18 count Ada. And I bought this color because I wanted it to look like the exterior of a spacecraft 140 years in the future. My husband is a huge fan. I'm a fan. He's a huge fan of a TV show called The Expanse, which is on Amazon Prime. There were 6 seasons, and I think we've watched them all a dozen times. It's his going to bed watch. He just watches another episode, and then when it's over, like, oh, this is a good one. He knows some of the lyrics, some of the dialogue. Anyway, the name of the ship is, their spaceship is the Rocinante, and on the hull of the Rocinante, in one scene, it's almost a throwaway scene, they're covering up what I call a pinup girl, like they used to put on bombers back in World War II. Do they still allow them to paint up their ships? I don't know. Airships. Anyway, there was a pinup girl with, like she's holding a blanket over her bodice and she's got long black hair and it says Rocinante in red letters underneath. On the internet, there's a bunch of screen grabs of that image. And I took the image and charted this pinup girl in Rocinante and I'm making it for Kurt. He'll probably hang it in his office. He'll probably share it with all his expanse-obsessed people on the internet, but it's fun. I'm doing it 1 thread on 18 count. 2 was just, didn't give the effect I wanted of paint on a hull of a spaceship that's, gets abused by space particles and radiation. I really am not an expert on space travel. Don't take any of what I said, and act on it. Next, I worked on the Daren Jones Christmas 2023 SAL. So this was, I've talked about how I don't gamify and I don't jobify my stitching. I just, stitch on what I want. Well, for some reason, probably I was enabled by watching people on YouTube. I thought, wonder what would happen, and I do like to wonder what would happen. I confess to that. What would happen if I put 1 thread in every project? Okay, so what happened on this Daren Jones Christmas SAL is I did that little red thing. Whoop. I did that little red line of X's. That was 1 thread. That's what happened. What can I say? Oh, let me put up a picture of the completed Daren Jones 2023 Christmas SAL. And should I sit over here? I don't really want to sit over here, but then it's more room for stuff. I'll just put it over my own face. That's okay. I will link the Daren Jones Christmas SAL again if I can find it, because that was a freebie that I downloaded. I don't think I'm a seasonal stitcher because now it's Black Friday every day of the week, apparently. And the Old Navy Christmas singing and dancing ads are playing on YouTube. And even though I don't watch television, I can't escape the Old Navy singing and dancing ads. So it's definitely Christmas. But I don't have any more desire to stitch that than I did last week. So next I worked on blue jars. Blue jars, you will remember, is a K-facet needlepoint design that I found in a book. And I am using that needlepoint chart, and instead of putting it on needlepoint canvas with wool, I am putting it on this giant piece of blue Ada, 14 count. And what happens if you put 1 thread into blue jars? Well, you get this little light blue section right there. That's 1 thread. Also, put 1 thread in a project and not much happens, except you pick it up and you work on it and you say, yeah, I still like that, or, ooh, I should do that more often. So maybe somebody else can take up this put 1 thread in every project idea. That's stuck. I think I'll persist, but I just stopped and went back to Ragnarok. But how long would it take me to go put 1 thread in? I don't want to set a timer. I don't want to keep records. I'm retired. But maybe you could put 1 thread in every project. And then you would learn, not just glancing at a project and saying, yeah, I want to keep this, but I'm not going to work on it right now. And you put it away again. But if you put a thread in every project, you would remember what the fabric felt like and how easy the chart was to use and whether the design was something you really loved and want to see more of, and then maybe you would move it to the front of the pack. Or maybe you would, what do you call it, UFO? Maybe you would just say, I'm going to hide you under the bed, or I'm going to give you away. But if you have a lot of whips and they are hanging over your head, just put 1 thread in every project. What happened to your shirt? Put 1 thread in every project and see what happens. Okay, so I told you I got 2 charts from Vivian Powers, the Vivsters on Etsy, and they were both half price. And one of them I got was 3 hens. I'll put that up there. I don't know why I wanted this. Sometimes you just need a good chicken. And this is a dandy 3 chickens. I asked my sister to knit me an emotional support chicken, and she sent me a link to a pattern to make it myself. I don't knit. No, I don't knit. So anyway, I started up in the corner, and here's this first little patchwork, first little quilt square. That's actually black and green, but you can't see the green very well. And then a little line of dark green stitches. This is also an experiment. Did you notice what I'm stitching on? Did you notice the little loop over here in the corner? Yes, that's how daring I am. This is a cotton dishcloth, and I'm stitching on it. It measures out to 32 count. It would shrink if I washed it, but I don't wash. I wet block, with cold water. I'm stitching on a cotton dishcloth, and it stitches a dream. I have to wear my little magnifiers because it's 32 count, but it stitches a dream. And the threads are less pushy or roundy than linen. Am I crazy? I'll do it. I'm going to keep doing it and let you know. But you know what that made me think of? Well, if you could stitch on a cotton dishcloth, why couldn't you stitch on a linen dishcloth? I'm so excited. I plan to order. I haven't picked out exactly, but linen dishcloths for dishcloths are horrifically expensive. But according to all the comments, they're really nice. But for stitching, they're a bargain. I found one where I can get 2 linen dishcloths in 4 to 6 colors, depending on which one I get. And they measure 18 by 25. Does that sound a lot like a fat quarter to anybody else? 2 of them for $22. I don't know. I will be the first to try. I won't be the first. I'm never the first to do anything. Somewhere somebody has stitched cross-stitch on linen dishcloths. Well, of course they did. They might have put a row of teapots and a chicken wearing a gingham bonnet. It's been done. But I'm going to order some linen dishcloths, and I'll tell you all how it turns out. I just really like getting things for a good deal. Am I cheap? I'm going to have to ask my family, am I cheap? So anyway, I started on the chicken. I also rearranged this room so that I could have better light for making videos. I'm still adjusting to it. My husband calls this room my Heidi hole. Yes, he made a pun. So can I recommend some YouTubers to you? Oh, I have one more start. Sorry. Let me talk about YouTubers for a minute. I know that these 2 that you are aware of, which is Jackie of Comfort Stitching. She makes it all okay that I skipped my chair yoga and my morning meditation. She just listening to her talk is a meditation. And she frequently shares a poem at the end that just makes you be quiet and breathe. Oh, thank you, Jackie. You are making a huge contribution to our community and to the world. And then Caroline and Anna of Curious Crafters. I just love to pull up a chair and listen to their conversations. They're so thoughtful and inquisitive. And what if you did this? And I learn a lot from them, and I learn a lot of questions to ask myself. And the projects are delightful. Really cool. So the Curious Crafters, watch them, linked in the box. I love long, thoughtful conversations, even if I have to be quiet. That's hard to believe, I know. I also love Wendy of A Stitch in the Matrix. What a mood lifter. She has a bunch of projects that I have never seen before, and she cracks me up. She cracks herself up, and she has a wonderful laugh. I'd also like to ask Grace, the Paisley Stitcher, to please come back. Please. I hope you're okay, of course. You're too busy. I really enjoyed the interviews she was doing. She called it Flosstuber for a day. She invited people to chat with her that were not on Flosstube but were avid stitchers. So they became a Flosstuber for a day. In fact, before I started my channel, one of the things I wanted to do was have live or recorded conversations with people that I had seen on Flosstube and call it inside Flosstube. Inside. It would be more, I think it would be more highbrow than Inside Edition, but you don't know until you try. So I might do that someday. And then a new Flosstuber who watched my video, and she's also new, is Hayley. She's Brigham House Stitcher, probably on Instagram, but her channel's just called Hayley. And she plunged into cross stitch in a big way about a year ago and shared all her false starts and learn by doing things, and just charming. Very, very fun. She's the one who said, yes, Heidi, you could add a newbie tip to your videos. So I'm going to give you another one. Here's another newbie tip. Did you notice on my dish towel that there was a red bow at the top? So here's my tip for newbies, and I don't know how many times I've heard people say, I started my fabric going the wrong way, or I was stitching and then when I picked it up, I had it upside down. So before you start your project, before you do anything, once you've got your fabric, identify which way your pattern goes. This is the wide way and this is the narrow way. Get it going the right way. And then at the very top, take some red floss and just make a few big stitches. I tied a bow just because I was being silly. But sew a row of big red basting stitches so that every time you pick it up, that's visible. Now, if you're a Q-snap user, I don't know what you can do. But if you take off your snaps or hoops every time, you'll see that, and then you'll say, that's the top. Don't start going the wrong direction. In needlepoint, we frequently will sew from all different sides because the frame is so big. So you turn it. So I would always mark the top there so I didn't get my chart flipped upside down. Because in the early days, you can't always recognize right side up from the stitches themselves, right? So that's my newbie tip. Thank you, Hayley. And I really love your channel. So check out Hayley. Please. Night Fear gave me my first shout out. Sarah from Stitchy Spot gave me my second. She has 11 floss tubes, and I hope you'll check her out too. She does some really neat work. Night Fear. Okay, let's talk about Patriotic. Let's talk about July 4th, 2026. I've never been attracted to Americana for decorating. I was an election worker, administrator for many years, conducted lots of elections for small towns and larger cities. Not large, but stop. I was an election administrator for many years, and many of my clerk friends would wear red, white, and blue sweaters on election day, or have flag pins, or all kinds of things when they were doing their training sessions, and I just never did. I love my country. I love the United States of America. I have great concern and expectations for it, and so I've never been attracted to patriotic stitching, Americana, but I just kept getting this bug about July 4th, 2026, and feeling like I should do a big project to commemorate that maybe someday my great-grandchildren will pull out and say, wow, look at this. This was done, for the semi-quincentennial. That's a word. So one thing that caught my eye, and it's really the only thing that's caught my eye so far, is Let Freedom Ring by Lila's Studio. I'll put that up here. That's a beast. It's 300 plus by almost 300 plus stitches, and I would do it on 18 count, so it would still be big. And Sheila of Crow River Stitcher, I really like her. She's so elegant and has the cutest little sweaters and really beautiful stitching, and I really enjoy Sheila. She had mentioned it recently, and so I put a message in the comments. Ooh, I was thinking of doing this for I want to start on January 5th, so I have 18 months to July 5th, January 4th, 2025, so I would have 18 months to July 4th, 2026. And Sheila said that she had a friend who was interested too, so they were going to probably do a stitch along in January. So my question to you is, are you doing any projects, big or small, for the semi-quincentennial, the 250th anniversary of the Independence Declaration? Words are so hard. Are you going to do something? Do you have other ideas for me? I want it to be an heirloom piece. I want it to be big and neat, and anyway, I'm probably not just going to do a little small and call it good. So if you have any ideas, or you think that doing Let Freedom Ring is a fabulous idea, and you think that, yes, Sheila should do a start along, Heidi's not going to do it. After Ragnarok is done, I think I'm going to move on to the Fruits of Plenty as my big, mostly pay attention. Love to hear what you think. So before we go, do you have to go already? It feels like you just got here. Before you go, if you have a Flosstube channel and you're fairly new, if you've had it a long time, I'm sure you noticed this and fixed it. But if you go to someone's YouTube channel, it lands on the home page. And there are a couple tabs: Home, Community, Live. There's another one. But some people just have two: Home and Videos. That's the other one. Videos. Home, Videos, Live, and Community. If you've had no lives, there won't be a live tab. If you've never made a community post, there won't be a community post unless you're in studio. But a couple people whose channels I've checked out, when I go to their channel, it says, this channel has no content. And I'm like, I think they do. So then when I click on the videos tab, I see their videos. But for those of you that are new and you're trying to, get viewership and grow your community, if they go to your page and it says this channel has no content, they might just say, oh, I was wrong, and move on. So you need to go into Studio, into Customization, and into Homepage. And then you can change what appears on your homepage to include uploaded videos. So please do that. If you don't know how, DM me on Instagram. I am Stitching Down the Rabbit Hole. I'm not very active posting, but I check it to see if anybody sends me a message, and nobody's sending me messages. If you have questions about your visibility of your videos on your homepage, please DM me on Instagram, Stitching Down the Rabbit Hole. I now have a Gmail account, Stitching Down the Rabbit Hole. I don't know why you would want to email me, but you could do that. Did I say what I was going to do this week? Oh, could I show you one more thing? Do you remember Ella Broda? The red letters sampler that I got from the magazine? I started it right here. This is 18 count Ada that I did some experimenting with. I think it's 310, one strand and two strands, and then I also did a thing that with sulky 12 weight. But anyway, this used to be my Our Forest Alice in Wonderland, which I gave up on. So I'm frogging. I'm doing a Zoom chat this afternoon, and I'm not going to be stitching. I'm going to be frogging, because I also messed up some of the people. I have to frog on that. My barn is one stitch too wide. Oh, you don't care. So anyway, what color is this, Heidi? It is 304. It's kind of, actually, in the color families, it's a very, very, very deep rose, but I liked the kind of red it was, so I'm using that. I know, I don't want to go, but I have to shut up because this video is starting to have a lot of nonsense in it. Did I say thank you for being a follower? And Yesterday my hair was super cute, but I didn't get time to record. And today it's just, oh, hair is a crapshoot. Am I right? What are you doing? Say goodbye. Please tell someone when you see they're doing something great, because it could make their day. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Goodbye, friends.